The Biden administration has agreed to avoid a federal vaccine mandate. However, when it comes to federal employees, the Biden administration has decided to make things a little more difficult for the employees who refuse to get vaccinated. So as the largest employer in the country, the federal government could end up setting the standard for the private sector with Biden's requirement that workers undergo regular testing, wear masks, and socially distance if they choose not to get vaccinated. So vaccine requirements typically allow exemptions for religious or medical reasons, but Biden's policy doesn't specifically or specify any exemptions, instead allowing anyone who chooses not to vaccinate to undergo once or twice weekly testing and may face travel restrictions alongside the masking and social distancing requirements. Listen, the idea of having a Q-tip shoved up my nose twice a week sounds awful and incredibly uncomfortable, and that would encourage me to go get vaccinated if I were a federal employee under the Biden administration. Now, obviously, I'm already fully vaccinated because I don't want to die and I don't want to, spread a virus that could kill those around me. Now, of course, you can still spread the Delta variant if you are fully vaccinated, but it lowers the possibility of that happening, and the likelihood of you dying after you've been fully vaccinated it's incredibly rare, 0.01%. Now, with that said, the companies are now looking to Biden for some guidance on what they can do regarding their own employees, right? Can they enforce a company-wide vaccine mandate? And it looks like more and more companies are looking to do this. A day after Biden announced the new approach, the Walt Disney Company said that all of its employees would need to be vaccinated within 2 months. Walmart, the nation's largest private employer, said it would require vaccinations for workers at its Arkansas headquarters. Meatpacker Tyson Foods announced Tuesday that it will require its 120,000 US employees to be vaccinated fully this year and will pay them a $200 bonus to do so. And there are some local governments that are going even further than Biden has, including New York City, which will become the first US city to require proof of vaccination for a variety of activities for workers and customers, indoor dining, gyms, and performances, to put pressure on people to get vaccinated. And I think that that's actually a really good idea. Polling does suggest that people are much more willing to get vaccinated if it means that their travel will be restricted if they refuse to get vaccinated. And I'll get to those numbers in just a second. But Cenk, what do you think? Is this going too far? Are these companies, for instance, going too far in forcing their employees to get vaccinated? I mean, you're boss here, so.
Yeah, no, of course it's not going too far. Look, I'm looking for more legal guidance, okay? But if I'm allowed to do it legally, of course I would say that everybody has to get vaccines. What are you gonna come indoors and endanger everybody else that works here? That's not fair to the other people that work here. Oh, I got freedom. No, you don't have the freedom to make other people sick. Like, you don't have the freedom to come in here and start sneezing on people. You can't bring in a petri dish full of your diseases and throw it on people. No, that's not a freedom that you have. This is very frustrating. It doesn't apply to us. I haven't heard about it, so I don't want you to misinterpret. But turns out one of the groups that are fighting this are unions. What are you doing, guys? Stop punching yourselves in the face. I'm begging you, right? So, and led by, unsurprisingly, the police union. They don't want to get vaccinated. Apparently, something like 60% of cops in New York aren't vaccinated.
Yeah, look, I get what you're saying. The unions, and I don't know exactly which unions are pushing for this. You mentioned the police union. My guess is they're listening to the demands of the workers, right? And if the workers have been unfortunately consuming anti-vaccine propaganda and are misinformed about what the vaccine actually does, then they're gonna pressure union leaders to carry out that message in negotiations with employers. And yeah, it's really frustrating because while it's important to protect the best interests of workers as union leaders, these decisions impact everyone else, and not just in the workplace, but everyone else in their local communities, in the country, because this is a rapidly spreading variant of the virus, the Delta variant. And yeah, it's just, I think it's short-sighted and really frustrating.
Yeah, and look, I don't want you to put most of the blame on them, but still mainly right-wingers that are the issue. And the police union has not done unions any favors at all throughout everything we've covered. Unfortunately, I also read that some teachers unions are starting to be opposed to it. No, but we kept the schools closed for the teachers, and now you can't turn around and say I don't want to be vaccinated. It's a bridge too far. No. Okay, look fair and honest here in how we deal with these issues, and don't fall into camps and partisan camps and all that stuff. Okay, now there's actually a silver lining to this story that I'm amazed by on a day of crazy hope. I mean, Cori Bush wins on the eviction issue, at least temporarily. We'll see what happens with Nina Turner tonight, but look at these numbers for Republicans. So first of all, for the country, 70% want vaccine mandates. I'm shocked by that number. I'm not sure I would mandating it at work. It was a question Anna asked, and it's a different question. Mandating it overall in society, I'm not sure I'd be in favor of that.
100% in favor, 100% in favor.
So 70% of Americans agree with Anna. I'm not against it. I'm just worried about right-wing overreaction. They're gonna lose their minds. They're gonna start causing violence and all that stuff. Right?
I think allowing private companies to make the decisions for themselves is, first of all, it puts a lot of stress and pressure on the private companies to make the decision, and it leads to all these little fights between, in the case that you mentioned, employers and unions, this and that. Look, we're dealing with a global pandemic. We need like a centralized way of dealing with this, right? And we're not doing that. Like I'm tired of all this like disconnected, we'll let the governors decide how they're gonna deal with it in their own states. It's a virus. It is a contagious virus that spreads rapidly. We need the federal government to make the difficult decisions. But the thing is, Biden is afraid of the backlash that's sure to come if he actually dares to be a leader.
I got you.
But being a leader sucks. Being a leader sucks. People hate you when you're a leader. You have to make the difficult decisions. Make the difficult decision and let's be done with it already.
So 70% of the country now agrees with Anna. But here comes the shocking part, 45% of Republicans do. Now you might think, wait a minute, that's not a good number, that's under 50%. Most Republicans don't agree with the rational position, right? Are you kidding me? 45% of Republicans being rational? I'm blown away by that. That's like a great day in America. That's like the most encouraging number I've seen among Republicans in a long, long time. But wait, it gets better. You go to mask mandates, 75% of the country says, goddamn right, do mandate masks.
Yep.
That's a shockingly high number. But among Republicans, 59% agree. 59% of Republicans say there should be mask mandates. I'm stunned by that. Look, in the old days, there used to be normal numbers like this. This would not have been an outrageous number. The Republicans are less rational than Democrats, but hey, still a big majority of them agree to the rational position. This would have been a normal number 5 years ago, 10 years ago, et cetera, right? But these days, when you get 59% of Republicans to agree to something that makes sense, I nearly fell out of my chair when I read that number. I was stunned by it.
Right.
So look at that, a little bit of hope even from the Republicans.
I think that people are ready to be done with this, right? And so we kind of live in this bubble where all we hear are lunatics in right-wing media spreading disinformation about masks, making this a culture war issue when there's really no need to make this a culture war issue. But people on the ground, people who are dealing with this day to day, people who are sick of wearing the masks, people who want to do away with all the restrictions that remain because of the vaccine hesitancy. I think they're starting to they're getting tired of it. The COVID fatigue is real. It's especially real, I think, among people who have done everything that they were supposed to do, right? And we're still, I mean, it's been over a year and a half at this point, and we're like, I'm losing my mind. Like, I'm ready to go to a rave. I want to go to a rave. I'm 35 years old. I want to go to a rave. Like, I want human interaction. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. So, and normally you do not. That's true.
Exactly.
Right. So look, last thing on it is that Candace Owens said something about, if it was real, then a lot of people in their own families would have noticed COVID, right? And nobody does. No, apparently a lot of people do, because a lot of Americans died and tons of Americans got sick. That's, I think, why you're seeing 59% number out of the Republicans, because the actual voters themselves have now gotten to the point where they're like, yeah, Uncle Bob's dead, and Aunt Janine got sick, and so did my cousin, and yeah, maybe we should wear a mask. And by the way, after Uncle Bob died, I'm gonna go get the vaccine, right? So I think it's beginning to, reality is finally beginning to catch up with actual Republican voters, and it's having a significant impact. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.